Hi, my name is Nathan, and today we're going to do a full comic book review of Silk, issues number 1 through 5, the complete story. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing, and also if you like the content we're throwing up, not only like and subscribe to the video, but also support the art, support the industry. Links for the comic book for Silk will be in description if you want to purchase a complete set or any other issue. And also, timestamps will be in description if you want to go from one issue to another. With that being said, let's get to it. We start off with, there's a heist, there's a robbery going on between, I don't know if these couples are married, and Silk doesn't know either, with Carl and Karen. And apparently Karen messed up by, mis-scouting the place, thinking this is a dead zone, that no superheroes and spandex will be there. And then Silk shows up and takes him out. Why her name gotta be Karen? First it's a face mask deal, now it's this? Come on, Karen. Then at the end, later on, Silk is thanked by the shop owner, and she wants to give Silk a reward by taking anything from the store as a gesture, as a thank you. And at first, Silk is like, well, I don't know, it's some kind of, I think it's like it goes against superhero code of ethics, I'm sure. Just take something, otherwise this stuff's gonna go to the outlets anyway. So Silk takes it, and let's be honest, I probably would have taken it too, but I'm not Silk. I'm more like sandpaper. She justifies it the next morning by saying, you know what, Peter Parker probably never took anything either, but then again, Peter Parker didn't spend 10 years in a bunker alone like I did. So she wakes up in the morning, brother makes her breakfast, gives her coffee and bagel. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry right now. Now, Jameson tells her, you look too dressed up just for, for reading and phone calls and lots of reading, kiddo. Silk is like, well, at least the beat's fetching you lattes. Whoa, girl, that's a rite of passage. But I love the joke how Jonah Jameson says, hey, you guys have any stupid questions, which you will, ask Derek, because he's been here for a few months, which is like decades to you millennials. That's funny. That's funny. Derek gets a text, and Silk asks to come along for the scene. So when we get to the scene, it's a murder scene, but there's fur, there's claws, there's something unusual about it. And they're asked to leave, and, Derek takes a picture anyway. And Silk's like, what's up with that? Well, hey, you don't have to ask for permission. Well, hey, you don't got to ask me twice. Silk is working late, publishing an article, typing. Freakish murder of the Mulligan gang raises a ton of cues. I forgot to mention that murder scene was a Mulligan scene. Now, interesting part, when she gets in the elevator, she sees Jonah Jameson. Jonah Jameson's like working late, burning the midnight oil already. Oh, you know it, shoot, trying to get this paper. But Jonah Jameson's not really enjoying that. On her first day, she went to a murder scene. Silk is like, hey, or her alter ego, Cindy, that's her name, says, I could probably lift more than Derek. I don't see what the problem is. What's with all you girls lifting, doing all this CrossFit kind of stuff? No one wants to marry a bodybuilder. One, okay, CrossFit wasn't mentioned here. Two, ain't nothing wrong with a girl working out. And three, where were you at on Valentine's Day? So Jonah Jameson is stalked, and these criminals approach and say, hey, take down the Mulligan story. One, Jonah Jameson doesn't know about the Mulligan story being published. Two, Silk shows up and takes him out. In an interesting bit of, at the end, she sees this earpiece inside one of the criminal's ears, and it's like, what the heck? I didn't expect that. Jonah Jameson wants her to be his bodyguard, because I got to figure this out. It's interesting that they knew about the Mulligan story and I didn't. And I got to get to the bottom of this. So she's in a predicament like, oh my gosh, I'll send you an invoice, Hey girl, capitalism. If I had superpowers, I'll do it too. Looking into the earpiece, it's made by a tech company called Fujinet. There's Matsuko Ishii, if I'm saying it correctly, is the founder of it, and then her daughter, the future of it, is behind it. So there's an interesting piece behind it with that. Meanwhile, at the headquarters, the daughter of the founder, I want to call her Sushi, but it's Ishii, I believe. She meets this furry little creature at the end, and there is some more that's about to happen, and there's way more to the story with this. In issue number 2, we begin with Cindy Moon looking at an article, who's killing all the Queen's gangs? She just can't sit around and wonder when another event's gonna happen. And we see a compassionate Cindy Moon. Even though they're thugs, they don't deserve to be killed off like this. Her cell phone gets a text message. We see that it's Peter Parker dealing with some weird galaxy saving stuff right now. But he still wants to know what's going on in his neighborhood, And if Cindy Moon has any idea who's doing all the gang killings. And Cindy's like, dang, Peter, even galaxy stuff is not stopping you from being all up in my business. Derek comes in and says he has a source on all the cannibals and all the killings, and he's gonna go act on it. He invites Cindy to come along. Cindy's like, you know, I got some things to take care of. But you know her ears are to the ground on this. She asks where it's gonna be at. Derek tells her it's at the Level Up Arcade. You know, their usual hangout. She tells him to be safe. As soon as he walks away, we see her on the roof, you know, telling him to see where the action's at. When Derek gets to the arcade, he wonders where all the gangsters are at. Not that kind of way. Boom, a dead body appears to him, and Silk, woof, just comes down to superhero landing on him as well. And she tells him, sir, you need to be quiet. We don't want to draw attention, so she webs him around his mouth. We see Demon Cat. He's like, anyone have anything else to say? Holy meow. Okay, that's funny. So as soon as she gets Derek into a safe closet and blocks him away from in the face of danger, because there's some action about to go down. So Demon Cat gives these thugs an ultimatum. Either you can die or you can join. And they're like, man, we're not gonna get threatened by no cat. Time to get it fixed. And the cat's like, okay, have it your way. So he slashes and goes to work on him. And Cindy's like, oh man, I could have saved this, but I took too long saving Derek. So she goes in and lets her presence be known. And this is not only a battle of determination, this is also a battle of wits and who can one clap one another. Demon Cat tells Cindy, well, you need to mind your own business. And she's like, you know what? Anything and everything that happens in this neighborhood is my business. And Cindy notices the Demon Cat's wearing the earpiece, just like the guys from the subway. This can't be a coincidence. So they start fighting. Cindy tells him, Silk tells the Demon Cat, don't make me declaw you. Well, don't make me crush you like a spider. And then he slashes her back, runs her around the ball machine. I can't think of the name for that, but it's definitely Chuck E. Cheese, you know, Boomer's amusement park kind of thing. Skee ball, I think it's skee ball. And the fight's getting intense. Okay, you have more spider puns. Itsy Spider, and she's like, I warned you to stay out of my business, and lands a massive blow into her midsection, and you could just feel that punch right there. Look at her expression. Now the gangs come in and wallop the cat, and Cindy is like, thanks fellas, that was a hard hit, and it probably cracked a rib, maybe 3 ribs of hers. And she gives the Demon Cat one last kick with everything in her power, and the cat has to flee, and like, this is brutal. And it was a brutal attack on the cat, but Cindy's like, honestly, I don't have enough, you know, to go on, but I had to give him all that I got. So meanwhile at Fujinet, Demon Cat walks up, and we see Sayashi getting her mani and petties done, and he's like, we have a problem. And Sayashi is not fazed by it. She just looks at him like, looks like you need a bandy or two. Never mind about that. We have a nuisance. That girl Silk, the little superhero Silk, she interfered during our talk with J. Jonah Jameson. And Sayashi's like, I'm not worried about it. And the cat's like, okay, well, she's not going to be that easy to shake off, so you got to be worried about it. I thought you'd grow into a natural like your father was. Okay, that's a low blow. But obviously, Sayashi's not worried about it. She seems to have something up her sleeve to combat this, but you got to keep it close to the vest. Meanwhile, at Cindy Moon's job, Derek tells J. Jonah Jameson and Cindy Moon that there was this cat. It was powerful. I saw him kick Silk's ass. Yeah, it was giving Silk a good fight. Cindy Moon's like, okay, I doubt that. I mean, come on, you got to protect my ego here. So J. Jonah Jameson's like, all right, we're going to dig deeper into the story. We'll bring Silk into this to help us figure out who they're fighting, what they're about. And Cindy Moon's like, oh my gosh, I already know because Cindy Moon is now J. Jonah Jameson's bodyguard as Silk, not as Cindy Moon. She already knows she's gonna get further brought into this, and when she gets up to stand up, the pain from her cracked ribs are kicking in, and she's like, this is gonna suck. So she took some painkillers, and she has to go about the day. So she meets with the gangs, the spa, where it's like to negotiate truce to make sure they all work together so they all don't get defeated by Demon Cat, you know? So they have to fight and stand against Demon Cat, and it's just kind of humorous. Where after that meeting, she goes home and is like, I am never wanting to see another naked man again. So she has a cool conversation with her brother about, you know, eating kimchi. Don't forget you have therapy tomorrow. Lessons with her mom. Just, you know, brother, sister stuff. It's kind of, you know, fun little family banter. So when she goes in to her therapy session, turns out her normal therapist, Dr. Sinclair, quit. Not like quit, but she had a family emergency and taking an indefinite break. You already know this is Sayashi's working. You get the feeling that it is, but don't worry, Dr. Sinclair already had a replacement thought out for you. Not just for you, but just handpicked a replacement. She's like, I don't want no replacement. I want Dr. Sinclair. So when Max opens the door and shows his K-pop looking face, and I don't think he's K-pop because he's probably Japanese. Cindy's like, okay, why didn't you tell me this sooner? So she goes in and Max, the new therapist, asks her, okay, well, fill me in, what's going on? He's smooth with it. And without even, like, Cindy's like, okay, I don't know if it's the looks or if Dr. Sinclair handpicked you, then I'm just gonna tell you everything I know about my reporter job, about the murders, about this demon cat. Well, who do you think is behind this demon cat? I don't know. I think Sayashi at Fujinet has something to do with it. I'm just a journalist. I don't know for sure, but I'm just believing that I'm connecting the pieces together. And you can tell that she's developing a crush on her therapist. And it's like, okay, well, you know, we talked a long time and he gave her extended time. I don't know if he charged her for that extended time, but when she left, she's like, I felt so rude about talking about myself and not asking anything about you. Girl, stop the flirt, stop the flirt. No, she's not. Look at that look, like I'm gonna flirt more next time. But now our suspicions are confirmed. Max calls his sister and she's like, what's up, brother bear? Look, I know why you asked me to do this favor. She knows you're involved with this murders and that's why you had me to pretend to play the new therapist, right? Well, obviously, Max, I need to get ahead. I need to know what she's know, but don't worry, everything's fine. And Max is having concerns that, dude, are you doing more than you can handle? Sayashi is like, dude, don't worry, everything's fine. And we end with Demon Cat doing a ritual. Even though Sayashi feels she has it all under control, I'm not sure if she's aware of Demon Cat doing this ritual. And that's how we end issue number 2. On to issue number 3. We start off with Silk in therapy, and the psychologist asking her what's going on. You look like you've been carrying a lot of stress, you know. During our last session, we talked about how stressful your new job is and what kind of things you like to do to take care of yourself. And she's like, well, I do like to take bubble baths. And the psychologist is like, you don't seem too enthused. You're saying that with a lot of disdain in your voice. Well, not exactly. I like protecting people. That's, I care about that. That's my self-care. And it's like, okay, that sounds like a secret way to admit you're a superhero. Then she gets a text from Derek at work about a cat attack at the spa, and the police are there. Now, when she gets there, she asks them what's going on. They're like, there's a demon cat in there, and we're just waiting for backup. We're taking the lead. We'll let you know when to. And Silk is like, man, I got this. I'm a superhero. What? And then I love the banter. Where are you, furball? Well, there goes Demon Cat just looking at her like, well, I ain't got no whiskers, but here I am. And when she's about to go in for the attack, he punches through the wall and plans to escape and saying, you're not calling the shots, little girl. If you know what's good for you, consider this your last goodbye. And she leaves, but there's this man that's just laying dead and she feels bad about it. She goes to Jonah Jameson's house and Jonah Jameson's like, look, you're not the first Spidey type to sulk around my fire escape. She's like, no, I just want to make sure you got home okay. So he tells her, I know what happened at the spa, come inside, or else I'm gonna call the cops on you. Like a good man, here you go. Superheroes gotta eat, right? A girl's gotta eat. How do you expect to eat with that mask on? Well, you gotta take a bite. You gotta close your eyes every time I take a bite. Jonah Jameson's a gentleman, offers her to take home some store-bought chicken. And she's like, well, what are you, a Korean grandma? What, you Korean? Oh, no, I guess not. So next morning, she meets her friend Lola, and she's like, I need a favor. I need to find some dirt on Sayashi, if I'm saying the name right, the CEO of Fujinet, the sociopathic CEO. I love the sarcasm here. I do have a super secret database. It's called Instagram, 1,000,000 photos. She's staying at the plaza. You need to head over there. Their dialogue and their back and forth is really, you could definitely see the camaraderie between these two. He goes to the hotel. Turns out, hey, she's been expected. This is the best part of the book. The back and forth tension between the sociopathic CEO and Silk, Cindy Moon. Even though it starts off as an innocent interview, but this girl has some witty confidence, the CEO. She's like, I know a lot of things about. Cindy is asking her about the ganglang and the murders. Then she blows that off with astrology questions with Silk is like, you don't believe in that stuff, do you? Oh, yes, I do. It's my religion. And she's like, you can play kooky Harris all you want, but the people using your tech are dangerous. And this is what's going on with all the murders. Now Silk's sense is going through the roof, and she knows not to underestimate. And it's at this point in time, the CEO lets her know, can I comment on that sweater? Is it acrylic? You deserve better. Maybe something in silk. How can that's a gangster kind of reveal, and that is a bitch kind of moment, you know? Threats happening here. Saya is telling her, hey, I'm not going to reveal to the world who you are, but I do know who your parents, Jonah, Lola. I know who the people closest to you are. So a fight breaks out, and Silk is wondering, how the heck did this girl find out about my identity? She gets a secret letter. Miss Moon, I have the information you're looking for on FujiNet. Meet me at, Broadway at 9 p.m. tonight alone. So she goes there. She gets greeted with unsuspecting guests. Not to mention, I did leave out some parts of the book as well, but this person who wants to talk about Saya turns out to be, hey, what kind of papa would I be if I didn't want to brag about my little girl? We end off with the previous issue with Cindy Moon going into this abandoned Manhattan office building, and she comes across with Silvermane. Saya is she's father, and she is shocked, and Silvermane's like, what? It's clear where she gets her good looks from her daddy. As a father, I can agree with that. Pull up a chair, it's a long story. So he breaks down the story how many years ago in Japan, he went on a business trip that turned into pleasure, which led into the eventual Saya Shi's mother. And, he tries to tell, that the business turned into a little bit of pleasure, if you get my drift. And Cindy Moon's like, drift noted, move along, please. But the boys want to hear the details. But we do got to keep the story moving. Meanwhile, back where Saya is today, we see that this demon cat is resurrecting a demon god. And Saya, she is not having it. No way. I can't believe the demon cat's name is Kasha. Is plotting to destroy the world when she agreed to help me take over all the gangs and queens. So now we flash back to the past, and we see Saya Yashi's mother raising her, and Silvermane saying most women in Saya's mother's position would have been shamed by her circumstances, but she made sure her daughter persevered and excelled in everything, but she was more of a nerd than anything, like a tech nerd. Back at the cave, though, we see Saya confronting the demon cat. Saya's like, well, who's your pal? Excuse me, I mean your master, referring to the demon god, and the demon cat's like, man, show some respect, And, Saya, I love her sarcasm here. I'm sure he's as old as time, but I really don't feel compelled to, because, you're working for me. And then they have this dialogue, and she's like, the demon cat's like, I ain't working for you. And she says, well, my payroll says otherwise. You killed those criminals for me. And then she uses her cell phones to control these drones that shoot with an arrow at demon cat. Pretty sick move, homegirl. Back in the past, though, we see Saya, and she's a teenage Saya, 16 years old, and we see her father, Silvermane, with like a hook and a wheelchair and a leg missing, telling her mom, hey, I need your help. And she's like, well, I want you to beg first. And Silvermane's pride is like, I'm not going to allow it. You got to give me the pieces to make me whole again. And her mother says, fine, I'll see what I can do, but only for Saya's sake. And I'm like, you haven't even met your daughter at this point. And then he says, well, yeah. Cindy Moon is like, well, how did your daughter react to all this news? And Silvermane says, by refusing to meet or talk to me, you can't make Saya do anything she doesn't want to do. Back in the cave, more stuff is going down, and these drones are doing damage. According to this, it just highlights to show you how much of a genius and brilliant this girl is. Demon Cat's like, okay, I'm done with this. Enough of it. You're ready to be schooled, little girl. Then we go into a flashback of Saya graduating for college, and her father is like, hey, you go on a plane to New York. I want you to be an intern at my company. And it's kind of funny. She looks at her mom like, Mom, this is bull jive, right? Her mom is like, it's just for the summer. It's like, oh, you guys set me up. I hate you both. And then I'll save this part right here for when you guys read the book. But it just shows that whatever she did with her father's company, she excelled in everything. But now back in the fight with Demon Cat, the drone gets caught up. And even Demon Cat's like, you're a worthier opponent. But you know what? You're lazy otherwise. Spoiled and disrespectful. And the tables have flipped. And then I guess she does like a sonic boom battery charge or whatnot. And he's like, man, what happened when your toys ran out of batteries? And Saya's like, look, man, I am the battery. I guess I have to kill you then. Meanwhile, we show that Saya's father's funeral, and he faked his own death for his own reasons. And it's kind of cool how the writers went back and forth, how Cindy Moon took a back seat, because this is her story, this is her comic. But now we get more of a backstory of Saya Shi and what the motivations were there, and more about who she is. But as things get, as Silverman ends the story with Cindy Moon telling her how the story and the history of his daughter, he's like, well, for insurance, I can't have you typing away. I need you to stay away because she's trying to fulfill my legacy. You know, she can't reveal that she's Silk at this point, so she runs away, and these guys are like, oh, the pepper spray, it's always a paper spray, don't be embarrassed. And then they made a comment like, you're pretty nimble for a desk jockey. What can I say? I work out, I do CrossFit. And Silverman's like, maybe she's a match for Saya after all. Now as she web slings her way back home, and she's thinking to herself, well, does Silverman know that I'm Silk? He can't know that I'm Silk. If he knows, then they'll be waiting for me at home. So when she gets home, well, you know what? All things seem to normal. And yeah, I guess he doesn't know that she's Silk after all. But you know who knows who's Silk? So that Cindy Moon is Silk is Saya. And when she goes into her room, there she is waiting. And this seems like they have to, Cindy Moon has to make a decision of her life. We start this final issue off where issue number 4 left off. Cindy Moon, aka Silk, is home, takes off her mask, and to her surprise, she sees Saya Shi on her bed waiting for her. You know, fashion influencer and daughter of supervillain Silverman. Saya Shi cuts straight to the chase with Silk and needs her help to stop Kasha. You know, the demon cat that went rogue. Silk is made aware that demon cat Kasha was hired by Sasha Shi to scare the local gangs and bring them to her side. Now Kasha is raising some demon god from hell and sacrificing gangsters? Silk is not entirely sold on this and asks why she should help her. Cause you like me and I kind of like that response. There's charm with these two girls, salt and spice and everything to go with it. After some back and forth dialogue, Silk agrees to help, but it's not to help her with her gangster aspirations, where she makes clear that she's going to nip it in the bud. That you go, girl, Silk. Next thing is they need access to a lab. First call that Silk made is to Spider-Man, and he's a little occupied at the moment. Next down the list is a slight chance, because there's a chance that their head might get blown off if she's not to disable the security system for S.H.I.E.L.D. Turns out, Cindy Moon called in a favor at the United World Defense Council. It's holiday weekend and everyone's off, so they got lucky. For the sake of plot convenience, I'll go with it. I love how Lola refers to bad influence with expensive shoes. That doesn't always apply, but with Saya Shi, we'll ride with it too. Lola is having second doubts about letting them use the department's equipment. Silk reassures her that you won't get fired for this, and if you do, technically we're saving the world kind of stuff, so you shouldn't get fired. But if you do, threats and menaces will hire you. Sarcasm, anyone? I love it in this one. I love when you have to trust your enemy because the enemy of your enemy has to be trusted for the moment. Saya Shi and Silk's alliance. A few hours later, these two have a verbal catfight as to who will lead, and their dynamic is very interesting because when Saya psychoanalyzes Cindy Moon, Silk, why Cindy has this innate need to help everyone but herself. Link in description, by the way, if you decide to purchase the comic. It's just a cool way of, you know, they have a banter, and it's like, it just shows Saya Shi's intellectual superiority with Silk at this point. They come to an agreement that Silk fights Kasha the demon cat, and Saya keeps it out for the demon god. Ooh, this is starting to get good, baby. I love this caption right here. Huwatin. Translation, and if I butcher the word, I'm sorry. A Korean word of encouragement used during sporting events, before a test, or when kicking demon cat's butt. Just take that in for the moment. Love the wit with Silk telling Demon Cat, hope I didn't mess up your Ouija board. Demon Cat temporarily knocks Silk out of the way to finish the rest of the summoning up for this demon. Now that the demon god is awake, if we can call it that, the party begins. Silk calls Alpert for backup, and the earring drones that came from Saya's ears, yeah, this girl knows how to accessorize. Silk blinds Kasha for a web moment, and when she goes in for the knockout, Demon Cat rips the web off his face and slams Silk to the ground. Demon Cat has a meow mix moment without the mix. Saya blasted a high-pitched noise pitch for only fur balls can hear. Non-detectable to human eardrums. You go, girl, with your redemption moment. Great use of puns and jokes in this shit. You gotta love it. Demon Cat tells Sasha, what's the point in fighting ancient power? You guys are humans. Do you think that this desire to life is admirable? It's stupid, and this will lead to your puny existence. Speaking of puny existence, Saya sends her puny technological drone into Demon Cat's ear to unleash a high-pitched sound that puts this mofo on his knees. Then boom! Head explodes, and this disturbs Silk and her code. Saya justifies this by saying she sees the world differently than Cindy's cinnamon roll optimism. I kind of want a cinnamon roll now. The world is a cycle of power going through different hands, and Saya's hands are just as good as any. Just when you think this team-up could be something, betrayal seems to be nearby. Silk in her emotional moment tells Saya that you always have a choice. I was in a bunker for 10 years fostering optimism. I made that decision for myself to work past whatever I was blaming for my anger. Silk made her choice. Saya made her choice. Saya responds with that she is not angry, this is what she finds fulfilling, and Silk will never understand. When Saya leaves, a gang is waiting outside for her. Saya gives them instruction, don't let Silk get close, and do not hurt that pretty face of hers. Betrayed, Silk yells, remind me to never shave your booties again. In another form of betrayal, being full circle, Cindy Moon's therapist is Saya's brother. That's how she found out where Silk lived, I believe. Cindy was divulging little nuggets in her therapy session that she may be an undercover superhero. You got to read the previous issues for that. Playlist above, card above, end card. It's really awesome. That revelation turned Silk's world upside down. I'm going to leave a little meat on the bone if you guys do decide to get this book. Wow, this goes to show you that no matter how well you think you know someone, there are some things that you just don't know about it. Cindy Moon can beat herself up for letting Saya and her therapist in her life. Or she could just accept it and move on. She could be living in the bunker like the good old days, but Silk has to somehow come to terms, and I know you guys will enjoy this read. I think this book is very well worth it. Very awesome, and you'll be very satisfied if you did decide. But with that being said, Silk issue number 5, what'd you think of the book? Comment below and let me know. I thoroughly enjoyed the Silk series 1 through 5, and what an enjoyable read. With that being said, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Here at Rated Comics, we not only do really cool comic book reviews, we also do really awesome comic book related content. Check out our Instagram and our TikTok. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.